Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds as Maddie is breaking her neck.
Cracks her own neck. That was
I
amazing
always have
timing.
impeccable timing, okay?
We break necks here.
Yeah.
How should I make an entrance? I know. That works.
I
They'll
thought
never
I'd make
forget
it
it.
in time, and then I didn't, because, like, it might have crunchy bones.
I respect crunchy bones. My wife hates the crunchy bones, though. She's like, why are you doing that? But anyway, I'm Nerdarchy Dave from Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds, and today I'm hanging out with the General Adventuring Company. Part 2. New and improved. We've got even more of them in the house today. We've got Adam, Julian, Cesare, and Maddie hanging out with us. We tried doing this once before, but my power flashed and everything turned off. And my computer, I never shut off my computer because if I do, it takes forever for it to start back up.
Mood.
Yeah.
So donate to Nerdarchy and get Dave a new computer.
Woo!
So how's everyone doing today?
Doing good. Doing
Not bad.
good. Yeah.
So if you guys want to kind of just go around and introduce yourselves and kind of what you do, tell us a little bit about the General Adventure Company as well as what you do outside of that. I'll start with you, Adam.
All right, cool. Well, hello, everyone. I am Adam Sowards, and I am the Game Master or Dungeon Master for the General Adventuring Company. And I also, the creative artistic director, got all these people together and, write the game, do some editing stuff and things like that. I guess a little bit about the General Adventuring Company is right now it is a 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons actual play YouTube production and podcast where we try to focus on the story and the collaboration and the quality. And that's our show. Yeah.
Next up, Julian.
Hey, what's up? My name is Julian. I am one of the players on the General Adventuring Company. I play the Eldritch Knight or the Tank. In the podcast itself, I'm a player. I also run a few different game systems for other bonus one-off episodes. Have done things in Honey Heist and Fate Core, which we will probably release some point in the future. I'm an actor in New York City, so I work a million jobs that all involve talking to people, one of which is running games of D&D for people, specializing in things for new players.
Awesome. Cesare?
I am Cesare Orlando. I am the only one from the West Coast, so it's early for me. I'm one of the players as well. I play a Dragonborn Ranger Rogue named Jasper, and I'm not the tank. I'm the one that makes all the bad choices. It's fantastic. And then everybody gets to kind of figure out how to work around them. It's my favorite.
He's the Lancer.
I can't believe you just came for yourself that way, bro!
I figured if I didn't, somebody else would.
I didn't realize we were taking shots at each other today.
Wow!
I figured if we start fresh, open up the gate, that way, get the flow going.
Just be honest, to the people.
We'd get there eventually, so. Outside of the podcast, I have my own media and production company, as well as a small entertainment company. So I do a lot of the creative things, sing, dance, act, play music, produce, as well as all of the content creation stuff. So photo, video content for businesses, brands, for the social medias, as well as primarily focusing on branding versus marketing. But, marketing is important too. But yeah, lots of creative things.
Desiree has most of the brain cells in the group.
He does, it's true.
And in all fairness, Cesare didn't come for people. Cesare came for themselves. So,
Yeah.
This is true.
Maddie.
Hi, I'm Maddie Wright. I play the comedic relief. Not really. Yes, but I play.
Don't we all?
Don't we all play the comedic relief? I'm funny. I play the half elf cleric Vincer. And outside of TGAC, I am an all around gremlin, and I'm a real bard. I do the Ren Fair circuit, and I work again like 10,000 other jobs to pay rent. I have a lot of fun.
We also have our other player is Kaylee Reed. She's not here right now. She's amazing. Like I said last time, just come to the show to watch her because she's amazing. Also the rest of us, but she's awesome. And we also have 2 other people that are part of the production. We have Nick, I forget his last name.
Girardin.
Girardin, and Matt, and I forgot Matt's last name. Eberly as well. And they help us out with the editing side. Of course, I forget everyone's names. I'm a horrible person. But yeah, that's that's like the whole crew, I guess.
Hey, your name is Adam.
What? I play so many characters, I forget who I am.
Always.
Improv, just make one up, throw it out there.
Yeah.
I'm Tony Meatballs.
Hey.
All right.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, how long has the show been going on?
It's well, I guess we launched about a month ago. But it has been like the thoughts of it and like the pre-production part of it for on my side has been what started back in, oh my gosh, like August or September of this last year, but finding this cast started in about January. I knew Kaylee before. I'd like played a couple of games with her, but started like going out and searching for the rest of these cast members. I think it was January. Just started making posts in various like groups and Facebook pages and things like that, and hoping something would stick. And then finally something stuck, and I put the right meme on the right page, and enough people liked it and commented so that I could get a couple people. And we did like a little interview process to find the players, because doing a tabletop role-playing show has been something that I wanted to do for like pretty much since I started playing Dungeons & Dragons back in 2014. And it just always, everyone knows it just like doesn't really work out. You don't find the right people, or no one really wants to make that commitment. And I was like, you know what? There's a pandemic. I got plenty of time. I want to do this thing that I've always wanted to do. So it just started making it happen. So the episode's only released a month ago, but it's been a long time coming.
I've definitely heard of people starting stream games in order to try and get their groups to be more consistent. Because just finding a regular, D&D group that's consistent can be hard and challenging enough.
I mean, real talk, if we're going to do real talk, I mean, the underlying sort of like real thing was, yes, I just want a consistent Dungeons and Dragons game. I just want to play the story that I spend so much time writing. I want to get to the end. The only story that I've ever finished was the test game that we played with the cast before we started recording. That's the only campaign that I've officially ended. Yeah, I think it was 7 sessions or something. But it's incredible. So that's definitely one of the underlying issues was I want to create something, and also I just want to finish a game for once. And I also just want to share it with
that's actually a pretty big commitment to like kind of like the prelude into creating the stream, right? To do 7 sessions, and then because I feel like especially in this day and age, everyone's like hurry up, let's do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you taking the time to actually see if this group was going to gel and work out for you, not a bad idea. I mean, we've seen some groups kind of implode live.
I thought it was the real session. I didn't know that it was a pre-campaign as a warm-up and tester. So I went all in on the character creation for the campaign that has never seen the light of day. It was just for us. We have the recordings, but it was just a tester. And I'm like, yes, this is great. We dove in. I've never worked this hard on creating a character with you. This is so awesome.
And then
he's
you're
like,
going to do it again.
So when we start this next the campaign proper, I was like, campaign proper, excuse me.
What does that mean?
What was this? I do not get to use the bard that I just built and spent all this time writing for. No, you get to do that again.
But with feeling this time.
Okay.
But what was really cool about that fairly long test session wasn't just checking if we gelled. We also had a little meeting and we're like, what character do we want our friends to play? Yeah. Like seeing Maddie like play this like Disney princess like character with a French accent who was adorable, but we were like, Maddie, I feel like you want to be chaotic and loud. So let's give you someone who's like off the chain crazy. Oh, yeah. And that's how she ends up in the comic relief for this character.
Intro Vince
like,
there.
It was definitely since we all met online and we haven't really played together, like you watch a lot of podcasts. I mean, that's really the focus of my show is making sure that everything's like quality, because there's plenty of shows out there to choose from, and what I wanted to do was make something that I'm proud of, and I don't want to waste the viewers' time. So with the pre-campaign, it was also getting everyone comfortable with each other, but also like getting them used to playing with each other and doing the certain things, and like because you watch some shows and you're like, oh, I can tell just by listening that these people don't really know each other, or they're not really comfortable with each other yet. And I wanted to get past that so that we could start off like we are friends and we know each other pretty well. And we can just hit the ground running from episode 1. Because don't want to get stuck in those early episodes where people are like, well, it's kind of awkward. And I'm like, I don't want that. So
yes, you spent the time to kind of build the chemistry. You know what I would really like to see? I would really like to see those interviews. The ones that didn't make the cut, like American Idol style.
Man, that'd be a lot of little papers that I'd have to sign. Just being like, hey, so if you're not in the show, can we use this video of you playing the game?
Remember how you didn't get cast? Can we still show your...
Can we make money off of that?
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely... I think I played 6 or 7 test games, because there was like about like I think 40 or 50 people that messaged me, and then I sent them like little questionnaire to kind of narrow it down, and then from those people I selected like, okay, I think they vibe well with their answers and these, and I like this, and then I sort of made a little doodle poll about when people can play, and then people signed up, and then we played little one-shots with everyone, like myself and Kaylee playing with all of these new people to see who we gelled with. And you know, some people, like, everyone plays D&D differently, and that is totally fine. And in those games, I just wanted to find people that played the game how I wanted to present in the show. So it was nothing against anyone who didn't get in the show. It's just like, oh, well, these people, you know, wanted to focus more on a cinematic experience, and they role played more, and they had a lot more energy and things like that. And that's what I was looking for. But you know, so those were the interviews things.
So were any of the games just terrible?
No.
He's trying to be.
You don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
He's getting the juice. He wants the
I
juice.
would say that none of them were terrible, because we always had fun. It's just some of them necessarily weren't as fun for me as the dungeon master.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, when people do exactly what you expect them to do, you're just kind of like, all right, like, this is fine. Or it's like, you know, they just kind of play very vanilla-y. And I'm like, I like people doing wild and wacky things and being creative and going off the beaten path all the time and surprising me. So it wasn't that any games were bad. It's just some games were just like very predictable. And I'm like, well, this isn't exactly exciting.
Oh man, it went according to plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, geez, I didn't have to completely, you know, stop for like 10 minutes and rethink my life before continuing.
Our group has been together in some incarnation or another for over 20 years now, and we've kind of joked about assembling like the worst players over that time for a game and put it out.
That would be amazing.
It would be such a train wreck.
Getting all the toxic players, all of the people that forget how to play, all of those people like an unjustice league together to play the worst game of Dungeons and Dragons.
And then reality peeks its ugly head in, and you're like, oh, that's actually not a good representation of the hobby.
You're like, wow, why would I want to do that to myself?
That just sounds terrible and chaotic, but...
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, I'm sure like over the years, we all have encountered those players, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, and that's something that I really wanted to show with the show is, you know, we are in an inclusive space, and we want to promote that sort of like, you know, healthy player and that healthy community sort of atmosphere. And, you know, obviously in every community, people, you know, work their way in, but we want to promote that with the stories that we tell and the people that we have in our, you know, community and that kind of stuff, which we wanted to make it more accessible to people. I mean, we have at the beginning of the show, we have a disclaimer that says PG-16 adjacent show. So it's like, it's not quite, we're not like PG-13, we still, there's some violence and things like that, some difficult topics, but we're not like we're not going like
violence.
Some violence?
There's a lot of violence. That's D&D in general, but we're not like going overboard. There's not like any like weird sexual stuff or anything like that. We try to keep it. This is the type of stories that we're trying to tell, is the ones that are like accessible to most people. But obviously, it's not like kid friendly at all. But
We
You don't want to limit yourself.
Yeah, akin to what do we say, the lighthearted humor of Guardians of the Galaxy, but the tension and the overall like world dynamics of the Game of Thrones series.
yes.
Fair
So
enough.
it's scary. It's not.
Trademark.
Trademark copyright.
Definitely not.
Don't sue
Good
us.
mention
Two
there.
giant properties. Yeah, this is what our show is about.
Similar,
We do.
adjacent.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm still mulling over. Adjacent. What exactly does that mean?
I mean, it's
It's acceptable for 16-year-olds in an alternate dimension.
honestly, yes, that is exactly what it is. I mean, honestly, we're just trying to cover our asses just to make sure it's just like, okay, it's not exactly PG-13, it's not exactly R. I mean, we censor out the F words.
That's it.
Just to kind of make it slightly more.
Also, so the YouTube algorithm doesn't hate us as much.
Oh, yeah. See, I did think of everything.
I'm actually
Right, Julie?
a genius.
That's right.
Genius?
Nailed it.
I have a shirt that says genius on it.
Well, that makes me think of we did a gaming convention. We ran a bunch of games, and like all the D&D games that we ran, there was this kid, Eli, that played in every one of them. And like at the very first game, he's like, I'm a subscriber, I'm a fan. And he's like 11. And like now we're a lot more tamer than we used to be.
Oh no.
And and we're like, I'm looking at this kid and I'm looking at his dad. I'm like, why do you let him watch our videos? What's wrong with you? What kind of parent are you?
I mean, and that's what we try to do right at the beginning, is just to let people know, okay, this is not made for these people, but if you watch it, I mean, we can't do anything about it. Because it's difficult. I mean, like watching, if anyone has listened to Dungeons and Daddies, that's a very like, mature podcast. It says in the beginning that it's a rowdy, horny podcast for like adults. And they also get some like pretty like teenager-ish fans, and I feel like that, just sort of covering those bases makes it a little bit easier.
I mean, if you're talking about rowdy and horny, I don't know what is more teenage than that. Like,
Yeah.
that's the target audience.
Rowdy
in that
Horny
regard.
podcast for cool kids that smoke cigarettes.
No.
Cool kids only.
Yeah.
So where do you think things are going to go in the future? What is kind of like, do you have like a roadmap, a plan?
I have a lot of hopes. I have high hopes. At first, sorry everyone. This is welcome to the game. EA. Okay, I need to stop making references. At the beginning, obviously it's Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, but we definitely want to do more things. We'd like to move into other settings. Like, I'd love for our next campaign to move into like the Star Wars or the Edge of the Empire system. I'd love to do like a Call of Cthulhu thing, maybe like a cyberpunk thing, like just getting into a bunch of other systems, akin to kind of like what Adventures Zone does, because I want to tell stories in other genres, and I want to do things that like the stories that the fans would enjoy. But I also wanted the General Adventuring Company to grow more than just a show. We'd love to make videos to teach new people how to play Dungeons and Dragons and how to play other of the tabletop role-playing games that we play. Because I'm a performer, I'm an actor, and before I was doing this podcast, all of the different shows that I would go and do, you meet a bunch of new people everywhere you go. And I would always be, after like we do our work, I'd be like, hey, does anyone want to play Dungeons and Dragons? And so I'd always be teaching these new people how to play these games that I've always wanted to do. So I'd love to add that as a different aspect to the show. And then also we do some like mini quest things where we bring in guests and we can play like little one shots or something like that. Maybe bringing guests onto the main campaign. I'd love to like expand the show, but for now, we can only afford to do this campaign right now. But definitely got big hopes, big dreams in the future.
And also kind of like the same kind of question, if anyone else wants to weigh in and has some thoughts they want to throw out there, feel free. You go kind of in the same order that we did the introductions.
Sure. Where we want the podcast to go, I'm really so excited to see how Adam is going to incorporate these different game systems. Like, I don't know if we are going to be on the same continents, playing the same characters, etc. But I think basically if we just start this adventure, which is very much in its early stages right now, getting to know these characters and expanding the world a little bit more. I'm just waiting for Adam to suck us into the Star Wars universe through a black hole or something like that, so we can finally run Edge of the Empire.
I mean, definitely with different characters in a different world, but yes.
You can just totally Westworld it.
Oh my gosh. That'd be too much for my brain to handle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Julie, you were saying.
Oh, no, you're totally okay. I think that was about it. I'm just so curious to see, like, because we as a cast like have such chemistry, but like I've taken over the DM role for the bonus episodes. Kaylee has DM'd in the past before, so I'm very curious to see us like be the same cast, but like putting on different masks, kind of like a Commedia dell'arte troupe. Like, especially once people get to know us as players, seeing us in the different roles, maybe suggesting like characters for us to play after this a book of the story ends, something like that. Could be really fun. Who knows?
Yeah, I really like the idea of just imagining Adam in a back alley somewhere after work. Like the guy from Hercules, he's like, "Hey, Mac, you want to buy a sundial?" But he's just like, "I got some D20s over
dice.
Here. You want to join a game? I got
want to buy a role-playing system?" Yeah, I need to get my fix in my role-playing games. Come on.
I haven't rolled dice in like 2 weeks, man.
Come on.
But back to the question, that it literally has been playing in my mind since you mentioned trying to get people to play D&D. So I'm glad I was able to get that out because I would have been distracted otherwise. For the podcast, goals, hopes, dreams, plans for the future. I think I might have like the most laid out ideas or plans or goals as far as I don't share them often, but as far as like kind of a roadmap of where they would go, I try to always picture end goals and reverse engineer things. That way we can get a clear idea of what type of targeting things we need to hit, whether it be views, subscriptions, Patreons, whatever those actual targeted goals are. We will never hit them if we don't know where the target is. So I like trying to figure that out. And then my brain does okay, so if we need that many things and we need to do this many ads and we need to do this and that's going to cost this much. Oh yeah, we just started.
The amount of brain cells on Cesare always amazes me.
Yeah, well, that's also kind of like what you do, right? And were you channeling a little Zig Ziglar there?
Maybe. No, it is a bit of what I do. And again, I don't like marketing. I don't like sales. I cannot. Asking people for money is extremely uncomfortable for me.
I don't think any of us likes.
Yeah,
likes
no,
those
that's an artist thing, I believe. We're just like, just let us do the thing, and if people like it, yay!
Can we do the thing, and can I?
But
can I eat
the
today?
numbers, especially when you're not just sharing stories. Like if you are building a brand, then the numbers are things that you have to think about and consider, and you have to be selective and very strategic about what, when, how, but more specifically your why. And when it's driven for like community-based stuff and wanting to get more people involved in the experience of getting to play and or be a part of, even if it's just through watching, even if it's just escapism and entertainment, if we have the capability to bring that little brief moment of joy in somebody's day where they wouldn't normally get it, and they get that release of thinking about just this wonderful, wonderful post-pandemic world that we live in, we're winning. We've done what we originally set out to do, and that will inevitably continue to grow and gain traction and get more followers. So
since you seem to be tracking, how are you guys doing with your projections?
we're you
I
know,
mean,
we're
we're pretty good for like just starting over a month ago.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. I think
We
of it a lot.
kinda
'Cause
nailed
you're
a really big
7
interview,
You spend a lot
so-
of months like kind of like pre-gaming.
Yeah.
Pre-gaming, literally pre-gaming.
Yeah.
We were pre-gaming for months. It was just getting wasted. I mean, we're not obviously going viral or anything, but I
Yet.
think, yet. But that's part of what our social media and marketing team is trying to do, is coming up with these ways to reach out to other people, get connected with other projects, and just start being more part of the community, because we have a really good thing, and I think people should come and check it out, because
Yeah.
I like it.
Tell him, Adam.
And it's I just think it's going to be really fun, and it is really fun if people are into that type of stuff. We'd like to do more of a cinematic experience. We'd like to not waste the viewer's time and get to the interesting, good, fun, comedic, dramatic stuff. And so hopefully more people will check it out, and we'll be steadily growing.
Maddie.
So go ahead, Maddie. Would you like to weigh in?
Oh, obvious. Oh, I have so many opinions. I always like to talk. So obviously business brain, I want this to do well. I really think it's such a gift to be able to share the things that you've created with a large amount of people, and that's super fulfilling as an artist. It's super fulfilling as a business and all that kind of stuff, and if there's money attached to it, great. So I really love that. I love this sense of building a community that we've already started with our Discord that's available in our Patreon. so do that.
We run games on there sometimes.
It's true. It's really fun. And also
Yeet.
come talk to us on Discord, because we're great. I just dropped my characters playlist on it the other day. It was really fun. We had a cool little moment. But I just personally, I am so excited to do Edge of the Empire, because I am such a Star Wars fan, and I have been thinking of this since the beginning. Because whenever I signed on to this, I was like, oh, this dude's running a campaign that's like character based, and I'm like, wow, that's what I like to do. And then he mentioned the Star Wars thing, and I'm like, all right, well, I gotta do it now.
Done. Let's do it. All right.
Go. Which is very cool. But on an even more selfish little moment is, I just really want to be able to be a gremlin and have fun character moments, and I really need to see how this ends. I'm too invested. I've always been too invested, and if I don't find out what happens, I'm going to explode. So
And that's why we love you, Maddie.
I have a lot of energy, and I'm really
Passion.
excited. Yeah.
I was gonna say potential spontaneous combustion, but
Yeah.
yeah. Passion.
I mean,
Yeah.
watch the
Always
show
seems
to see
stressed
if
of all
Maddie
this.
just bursts into flames. Just come and watch
Or
the show.
tears. Watch episode 5.
Oh. Oh, releasing today.
It's true. It
Racing
releases today at
today.
1:30.
Maddie enters a full-blown panic. It's great.
I do.
But if you do spontaneously combust, think of your fellow cast members and make sure it happens on camera. Don't waste that.
Exactly. I mean, it's all
It's
about
content.
the views.
It's all about the views.
That's
So,
that's part of the Nerdarchy
get it on
contract.
video.
Yeah.
No
If
one's
you
allowed
burst
to
into
die
flames,
off camera.
You cannot die off camera.
Gotta
Always
be
have
recorded.
a.
Always
in
be
canon.
recording. Always be recording.
Yeah. Now, actually, one of the cool things is the fact that you did that whole pre-campaign, because oftentimes when I talk to people that are streaming games, they don't play anything that's not streamed. It's just everything is content, so everything happens on camera, and I think that's kind of a shame, when that
Yeah.
happens.
I mean, what we when I was first coming up with the idea, and I was like, well, a lot of people are doing streams, like you said, a lot of that's how people get a lot of their views and things like that. And I was just like, I want this to be a comfortable space for everyone, and I want them to be feel allowed, or to be able to do those risky things, or to be silly and be stupid and not exactly know what they're doing all the time, because we can edit it and we can put together what is the entertaining stuff. And with all of the editing, because I think that's the biggest part about our focus on the show is quality, and we can do that with all of the editing and being able to record this in a sort of relaxed atmosphere, like most people play games casually. And we are able to add things like music and sound effects, and we have like little props. Like I've got a bunch of different hats and things, and I think I showed these a little bit last time, and like little props and things. And that just adds a lot more, I think, quality and stuff. I lost track of what I was saying because I was showing props.
A lot of visual appeal,
Great.
visual aids, and enhance the experience for sure.
Yeah, and I think the pre-recorded and edited standpoint makes it able to be more entertaining and get to the point. Because no one really wants to hear you doing math or looking up rules or having an awkward pause because no one knows what exactly to do for like a whole minute, or when we're taking like a bathroom break or whatever. We like to get to that important stuff, so that because everyone's time is valuable, everyone's really busy, and we want people to consume it how they want. That's why we have the YouTube video of the show, and then we also have the podcast version so that people can enjoy the show in many different ways.
Making the best version of what we have between the five of us. Yes. I think quality control is definitely an important phrase when it comes to the stuff we put out, but it's also just we are trying to make ourselves be the best version of ourselves, present the best version of the story. We're not like changing the story off camera if we don't like the plot point or anything like that. We are just trying to keep ourselves in the best possible space to present the audience, whoever they may be, with this interesting and high stakes and fast paced story to the best of our ability, basically.
I mean, and it goes from the production part of like the editing, the sound effects and all that, but it also goes into the playing and the prep for all of us. I mean, we spent a lot of time making these characters, more than just like, picking a class and picking a race and then filling out your personality traits. We first started with like specific character tropes in writing. We were looking at it from a writing perspective first when we're making our characters, and like, okay, this trope of character, this like the hero type or the lancer type, they work together well, and who wants to build a character based around this, or I like playing this one, and then we move that into a very detailed character building backstory between me and the player character, and we change the world based upon that, and all of our prep, and we give each other like notes and things like that, and it's very collaborative behind the scene, so that when we sit down at the table, we can put the best, sort of most entertaining thing forward, because we're all performers and actors, so that's the stuff that we enjoy.
But it's still full of surprises, even though we come up with character tropes to fit into beforehand. Half of the enjoyment is screwing up Adam's plans.
Yes.
Yeah.
As all good players like to do.
I was gonna say you're cutting it short at half the enjoyment there. Like,
I mean,
methodically thinking about how to figure out ways to screw up his plans.
Like without like giving away, like this isn't spoilers for the show at all, but there's a specific episode 7, which is not going to be out for a couple of weeks, but that specific episode was not planning to do any of that in that episode, but depending on what happened in the last one, it kind of screwed everything up, and I was like, okay, well, this is
one of us made a very specific decision in a very dangerous world.
Sure, yeah.
And that like completely changed the next episode, which is what good GMs do. But I love that stuff. I love it when they screw up everything, and it's amazing.
Feels a lot like life sometimes,
Yeah,
it's kind of like the player's job to come in and make a mess of things.
Exactly. Yeah. And
this is what you set up.
And, I mean, and that's another thing, is that in this game, the focus is definitely on the story. I think I said this once, and I was very proud of myself. I'm sure someone else came up with this, but it's an RPG. The role playing is before the game. So when we're playing, it's about the story, and we're trying to move the game aspects, the video gaminess that I think a lot of people who come into D&D still have, where it's like, oh, it's about getting the loot, it's about leveling up, and that's cool for some people to play, but that on like, if people enjoy that, that's amazing, that's awesome. But our focus on the show is the story and doing this sort of realistic experience, and trying to think of it more as a real life playing the character, rather than, yes, I need to get this +1 sword so that I can grind these goblins so that I can get up to level 3. Yeah.
I don't know. +1 swords are still pretty sweet.
I mean, I still give them out.
Sword. It's great. I'm
Yeah.
loving it. I am loving the +1 sword. I got one in the test campaign too.
Yeah.
I love feeling good with strong builds. So yes, absolutely, we are doing all the story stuff, but I'm also back there like, I'm carrying this combat encounter, and that makes me feel strong and having a great time with stuff.
And then Jasper is here on the other side going, wait, Sinog is totally not carrying this combat. I am carrying this combat. Watch and learn. And
Sneak attack.
The toxic masculinity in the group comes between our characters.
yeah,
who are,
between
like,
the
hero
two
archetype
hero,
and the
yeah.
edgy guy who are just constantly butting heads. all
Big
the time.
time competition between them.
Yeah.
Very like not aggressive too. It's a very just kind of like subtle, like unspoken, like okay, I see you. Well,
Okay.
oh yeah, your move.
How
Very
long
fun.
are the sessions?
We meet for we plan out to meet for 5 hours, and then we record for 3 or like 3.5. And then we try to edit it down to under 3 hours or around that 3-hour mark. Well, there's a lot of prep that goes into the game. And I will say this to my grave, that improv games before you play Dungeons and Dragons or any sort of tabletop role-playing game or anything are like essential. At least in my games, I've seen a noticeable difference for us playing these 3 little improv games before we start and doing a sort of in-character recap before we start. None of that is involved in the show. We cut all of that stuff out. Maybe we'll put it
But
in
hey,
some like later.
Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon content. Who knows? But we
See,
do
content head.
That's sort of what some of the 5 hours is devoted to, is to get everyone in the headspace to get ready to the game, because we're all coming from different things, and getting your mind ready and like your body ready to play these characters, to be active and in the improv headspace is, I think, essential in my games at least, and it's just very, very helpful.
So is part of that 5 hours kind of like hangout time?
Yeah, I think so. I think we as
Yeah.
most people know, no one is ever on time. And to a session, and most of
I'm
the time
always early.
Yeah, Desiree's always early. But most
Adam's
of the time
always eating.
I'm
I am
always
too.
eating. So usually we kind of chat before, and then we have like a meeting at the end.
And Kaylee rolling 5 minutes late, being like, sorry, my entire house fell down.
Sorry, my cat and chickens all died. Yeah. So I mean, a little bit of it is hangout time, but I mean, really, the whole game is hangout time.
Yeah.
We're just doing the funnest things ever.
We
Well-
kind of have to. We have to cut a bit in post because we'll
yes.
forget that we're not supposed to make too many real world references, and
Yeah.
then somebody will say it like an exact line from a song, and we're all just like, and
You're like,
somebody
Bruno
breaks and
Mars.
says it, and we're like, ah, damn it. Okay, let's go. Nick, if we can cut this part out at this point, this is
I really
perfect.
do.
Editing notes, thanks, Nick.
So what goes up on YouTube? Are they the edited versions or is that raw?
The edited versions. We
Okay.
don't put out the raw versions anywhere. I mean, maybe we'll do that on Patreon at some point if people want to see that. I don't know why they would, but maybe they do. I don't know. But
I disagree completely. I think everybody would love to see us be as chaotic and crazy as possible,
Okay.
and they'll fall in love with each one of us. But
Yeah,
that's my opinion because I'm narcissistic.
Well, yes. I mean, like if we do, like, we could at some point put up a raw version on our Patreon, but the YouTube version and the podcast version are the same. They're both the edited versions. They have all the sound effects and music and everything like that. The only difference with the podcast is, it's audio only. So, but yeah, they're both the same. But what you get with the YouTube version is all of our beautiful, wonderful faces. But also we get like little maps, and we have a wonderful overlay made by Apollo, Avery. Amazing. You can see all of their art that they made for the show, which is just absolutely incredible, and we love them so much. But you get like the little maps in the corner, you get the music, you get the little character sheets and stuff that pop up, as most live or most actual plays have. And we get a couple of wonderful battle maps that I draw on my little whiteboard.
Oh,
Here's
so
one
cute.
of them.
Yes.
Very, very poorly drawn, and I put them up on Patreon because content.
What was that?
What was that? Is that a new map,
is that, Adam?
That's something you played last time.
We know. Yeah.
Okay.
You guys know, but the audience won't know. Tune in to see what the hell that map was.
Oh yeah.
On
I
episode
remember
7.
now.
The big thing in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
But yeah.
I love that two of your 3 players just like perked up, like, wait a minute, is that DM secrets?
Yeah, no, I was like, wait.
We just flash my notes real quick and see what happens.
I'm like
Please
immediately calculating, like, okay, there's a choke point down at the south. If everyone hides at
I'm like, there are 6 tents surrounding a big column thing, and there's other tents around it. What's our way of escape?
It's actually a puzzle. There's 6 tents in a room, and 1 is a frog. How do you get? I don't know. I'm making up this puzzle on the spot. How many spots can you push to get to the button to open the trap? Okay, I should stop.
Yep. Okay.
Here we go.
This is how our games go. We're
Yeah.
not the most on track people.
Nick, if you could cut that last part out.
Oh man. We commit to the bit here, all right?
Yeah.
Commitment.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
So I see we're peeling back the curtain a little bit of how the recordings go. Cesare, just let us know, is there a lot of calls for Nick?
Well, a lot of the times, actually, Nick will he'll be a part of the call if he's not already currently editing one of the previous episodes or something else. Because Nick is actually my personal regular editor for my company. So we work with real estate agents, we work with coffee shops, we do all kinds of stuff, and he works a lot on that. So if he isn't busy doing something else, he'll actually be live and taking notes as we're going through, and he'll be like, yep, well, Maddie dropped an F-bomb at 3 hours and 14 minutes.
It happens a lot, and
we gotta quack that one out because
God damn it, Maddie! What the fuck?
You said the fuck word.
I've been holding back because I wasn't sure. We weren't sure. Okay, so it's good to know. But yeah, so he'll make live notes sometimes when he's able to join, and there are a lot because we're all chaotic and we're all extremely artistic, and with that comes, a certain level of ADD or ADHD. I feel, personally speaking as well. Maddie could probably attest. I'm not going to call anyone else out because we're the only ones who've really come to terms with it and fully embraced it. But it's helpful. It's really nice to have those extra, and he'll actually he'll accidentally distract us by writing in chat, and he'll just say something that's a note, and we'll be like, wait, what? Oh, okay. We're back into it. But it's always good because having immediate feedback from somebody who is very much into the D&D world, watches a lot of streams, has been doing that, but also having the editor's perspective of, hey, try to do this, and this while you're going through this process. It'll speed up the editing process and make it so that, we can
You'll make my life not suck so much.
Yeah. For example, in combat, it's like, oh, first say what you want to do, and then do the rolls and do the math. Then give us your final numbers so that he can cut out that middle part, and then describe what you're doing, and don't do that all sort of mixed in between, so that it can be a cleaner cut when we do it.
I probably struggle with that the most.
That is definitely a retrain of the brain.
Linear things for me are extremely difficult. So I'll have the spider web of thought process to get to the central point versus you could have just done this, this, and this, and you'd have been there. So,
I play the fighter, so I just hit things. It's very easy for me.
With the fighter / magic user who doesn't use magic, it's easy and confusing because I'm also thinking I could do. Nope, he doesn't actually do that. I could shoot
True to the
things.
role play.
I could shoot things. Yeah, but peeling back behind the curtain of editing process, many hours, lots of notes back and forth. But when it boils down to it, how succinct everything is and how well matched and paired, not only for the listener, because Adam was very much, yes, we have to, it is a podcast. It is a podcast. We are making a podcast. I'm like, well, we're making a video production that is going to be listened to as a podcast. So we're thinking about the differentiation between what is the podcast listener getting versus what is the visual person getting. And if we're erring on the side of making it as entertaining for the podcast listener as possible, that's why we incorporate music. That's why we incorporate sound effects. You know, you go and you hit sword and it clinks and you have this stalemate. You don't meet purchase, but all of a sudden you hit that and you hit this. It just makes it that much more immersive for the listener. And it also is something that makes us stand apart from the average video production, because most of the time, if you have anything, there might be battle music or stuff like that, but not necessarily all of the, well, any of the sound effects that Adam doesn't do himself with his mouth. Everything else, like we're using Foley. You know, we not
like
to like
do like ambiance and like other sound effects, and then like sort of mood music for specific situations. Like this doesn't spoil anything, but at the end of the first episode, there is a very dramatic moment, and there's just like this amazing music that is just like pumping up this really dramatic moment, and you're just like, what? And then the episode ends because, you know, gotta end on a cliffhanger. But we have like a lot of music moments like that, and it really adds to the viewers.
How else are you ever gonna know when the villain is monologuing that this might be the bad guy if you don't have a villain theme coming up in the background? Like, yeah. So it definitely enhances not only when you're removing part of the sense that you would normally have when watching the show and you're just listening to it, we still like to incorporate as many of it as possible. And Adam does a great job. Most of the time at the beginning of the session, it starts with a black screen, because he always starts with, if everyone can close your eyes. And he just talks us through with something like the first thing you smell or the first thing you hear, and it starts incorporating those other senses. So it's really stimulating, not only for the visual watcher, because they're getting obviously the sight and the sound, but for the auditory person as well.
Is Nick a gamer?
Yes,
it helps.
Yes, definitely.
I'm also games with him. He's fun.
I'm also impressed with Cesare's financial commitment to this endeavor. Paying someone to edit your stuff is not cheap. And I ask about if Nick is a gamer or not, because we do use an editor. I'm pretty sure they are not a gamer. So it's like we have to like storyboard everything. And even still, sometimes you have to go back and be like, you know, have things fixed or whatever.
I mean, like it's a long process. Either like on either side, because, you know, obviously I have one vision, Nick has another vision, Matt has another vision, so it's all trying to like coordinate that through like a bunch of notes and trying to make the process as short as possible so that we can get it done and like get to the next episode and put the focus back on, you know, other things
as short as that 3-hour process can be.
Yes,
exactly. And really that's just on your end, because editing takes much longer than however long the actual video the raw is. So.
Oh yeah. It's usually like double or triple the amount of the episode, and depending on how much you're actually doing with it.
I used to do the editing. I don't miss it. Nothing will fill you with self-loathing like editing yourself over and over again.
It takes a long time when
so true.
It takes a long time. I'll just say that. And
especially when we put a lot into this. We put a whole lot into this podcast because we want to make it the best listenable / watchable experience out there. So we are totally fine putting in all this effort with editing, sound effects, warm-up preparation. Like as I'm sure you can tell, Dave, we like at this point have a system, you know, that we go through it. We're not just sitting down and turning a camera on. We are trying to be our best selves, and we are editing it down to make it the best listening experience possible.
Yeah, one of the reasons I asked about the hangout time beforehand is because you guys do seem like you're friends and you're very comfortable with each other.
I don't know any of these people.
Who are they? Where am I?
Waiting.
I just
Maddie was brought
here.
on the podcast 5 minutes ago.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, but like we get a lot of questions and comments from people, and it just like instantly I just know they don't know the people they're playing with, and it's super important. And I think that's why Like when you met, I was kind of surprised and also pleasantly so when you're like, oh, we played, a mini campaign together before we even got started. That's a huge commitment of time for everybody for something where you don't know where it's going to go or if it's going to work out. So kudos to you guys.
Like the oh wow, I forgot the word. The meshingness,
Xylophone,
the
telephone,
the chemistry.
The chemistry.
ensemble.
The chemistry is very, very important, I think, with a show that people are going to listen to or watch, because even if like you can just kind of tell, it's just kind of like a social thing that you just pick up on, and if people aren't comfortable or they're kind of hesitant or something like that, then it shows, and it's kind of like secondhand embarrassment where you feel embarrassed or you feel uncomfortable. We don't want people to feel that. I want them to feel comfortable when they're coming and watching the show and being entertained. So that was like a very important part of the process to make sure that we're all comfortable so that you all can be comfortable.
Also, avoiding career-ending implosions live is also good too.
Yes. Which is like
from personal experience, Dave.
Thankfully, no, but
Okay, good,
definitely, I think we've all witnessed some, or at least heard of them.
Yeah, like I won't name the podcast, but I was like one of the first Dungeons and Dragons podcasts I was listening to was like they started off and there was like four cast members, and then by episode 4 that fourth person just wasn't there anymore, and they were just like oh yeah, this person dies in a really horrific way, and they were like huh, and I was like, I feel like there's a story there or something. I was like, obviously things weren't working out. And yeah, definitely want to avoid that uncomfortable.
They should have done more test plays. So,
even not even just shows, just D&D groups in general, just gaming groups in general, like kind of can suffer from that. I think it's also kind of more of a recent issue with online gaming, because people will just meet only for the game. They don't know each other in real life. They don't meet up. They haven't met up before. You're a bunch of strangers and you just want to play the game, and no one thinks beyond that. So it's like, our advice is always like, even if you're just doing that, set aside some time to just like chat before and after the game, so you can like know the people you're spending all this time with.
Yeah, I mean, and it's important to set up boundaries and figure out what everyone is okay with in the group. That was a big important part of how we play, was asking everyone, sending, I think it was the RPG consent checklist, I think that someone made online, and sent that to everyone and had them go through and be like, what are you okay with, what are you not okay with, because that's like a hugely important part of playing games together, is that, along with being friends and getting to know each other and being able to have fun. Because if you don't have those things, then like you said, something's going to come up and it's just going to implode, unfortunately.
We also have the plans in the works that when we do have some type of live show in the future, that we are all going to gather together and try and play around an actual game. And the first time that we actually meet in person is going to be in a game setting. And
we're just going to be so upset because we're like, everyone's too tall. I hate you all. We're going to leave.
I think if anything, we're too short. I think Adam is probably the tallest one out of all of us, right?
I guess
probably.
So.
Yeah.
Maddie looks like she just had her mind blown.
Well, the thing is, everybody's tall to me because I'm like barely 5 feet tall, so I'm just a little. So like, I'm gonna show up and everybody's gonna be a giant, and I'm gonna be like, well,
we'll bring a booster
this
chair.
is
It's
nothing
fine.
new. Oh my
Some
God.
telephone books. Wait a minute, do they even make those anymore?
Just bring all your D&D books, get Xanathars in there, get Waterdeep. Yeah, you're good.
Look,
I
Maddie's
actually
here,
don't like-
and they're all backpack. Yeah, no, you know what? I've done a lot of these shows and I've met a lot of people, and then I meet them in person, and they're like, everyone is so tall. That's what I've discovered.
I know.
Camera angles do a lot.
Yeah. Like, I remember meeting Dan Dillon for the first time, and he's like a bear of a person.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, wow, there's a lot of you.
You're a tall.
Yeah.
Dave,
Oh.
I have a question for you. Can we turn the tables?
Sure,
just
go
for a
ahead.
second. I'm curious,
Ooh.
out of how the turntables have.
Of tables.
Have wiki'd.
What of all of the interviews that you've done, because you've been doing this for a long time, who is somebody or a group that you've been most excited to interview? Like, who is somebody that you've like fanboyed over?
Nobody.
Oh, so
There's
there's
a
been a
correct
couple.
answer. Just wanted to let you know.
The ghost of Gygax.
You guys are a close second, but there was
Ooh.
like I've had a couple of the designers on in the past,
Oh, cool.
which has been really cool. I had Perkins on, I had Merle's on. I landed like a live chat with David Harbour. So like
Oh my god.
that one was like the biggest like fluke and kind of. So we did a giveaway for a cabin on this thing called a fantasy cruise, which is basically like a Comic-Con at sea.
Nice.
And-
my god.
And
That's awesome.
I just thought
the
about
cast
that.
from Stranger Things were there after like season 1 or just before season 1, and the people that actually won the cabin, they had asked a question about like gaming, and they asked the kids if they gamed, and they're like no, and then David Harbour was like, well, I run a game every week. I don't think he actually did. I think he used to once upon a time, but and we could game anytime, and so I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I had tweeted at him, hey, do you want to come on and talk about playing D&D? And he's like, sure. And he gave me like a 20-minute window and stayed for like 45. So I was like, yes, he didn't pull the
Yeah.
ripcord.
That's so cool.
He was having fun.
Yeah. So that was definitely cool. That was like before, I think it was just before he got the Hellboy role. Like now, not a snowball's chance in hell. But we had the recordings.
That's crazy.
And then also R.A. Salvatore was really great to talk to.
Oh wow.
But I mean, there's been a ton of people. But and then before we even started doing the live chats, we had Monty Cook on, and we all played a lot of 3rd edition, and he was kind of like one of the main designers there. But not only that is like, our point person and the person that handed off Monty Cook was Sean K. Reynolds, which was another huge name from 3rd edition. So like that was probably the first time it was like one of those moments. And then since then, yeah, we've had a couple, and there's probably more that I'm forgetting because I've done like 500 of these now.
I mean, doing like every week, filling all those slots. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes there's been plenty of people like I've never heard of before. You have them on, and you just jive with them, and it's just like a great time.
Mhm.
So
And
We're
then-
all
and
unified
then-
by this hobby and
Yeah.
our versions of it. Everyone does D&D a little differently, and I think it's so awesome hearing not just everyone's experiences, but also like their deep-seated opinions about this game that we all play. The things they love, the things they hate, the things that they only do in their games. It's so fun hearing that stuff.
yeah, like having Holly Conrad on to talk about pigeons. That was like a lot of fun. Like sometimes you get people on and it's like they do D&D, which is the show's normally about, but then they're like they have this other hobby or interest, and you're like, I know. When am I going to get to talk about pigeons, and why would I? But this is kind of fun.
You're like, all right, guys, it's time to talk about pigeons. What's your
Yeah.
favorite type of pigeon? Do you like the New York one? Do you like the blue one? I don't know any of
I mean,
The
in
blue
our
one.
in
The
our
blue one.
honey heist one-off, we actually
yes.
tweaked it a little bit, and we called it duck heist, and we were all bird types, and I actually played a pigeon. So
Nice.
You did.
that's a
What? I wasn't there for that. I
You
was
weren't
on
there.
tour.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
You played
Oh.
a pigeon?
Oh,
Yeah,
you will
that's-
see.
Jealous.
That's
You
but
will
part
see.
of the mini quest that we do is we like to start with playing some other tabletop role playing systems and other sort of genres, and that's 2 of them that we will eventually release. Is one of them was the Honey Heist 1-page RPG that we did Duck Heist, and then another one we did the Fate Core system, and we did a
Space
sort of
heist.
like space like
Not a
horror type like aliens type movie deal, which was really fun because we want to do all the stuffs
Yeah.
Do you know how long you plan to have this show go for?
forever.
Oh.
I mean, I think
I mean, not show, but this particular campaign.
yeah. I think it will be, at least in my plans in my brain, I think it will be 2 or 3 arcs. And I'm assuming, I always underestimate the amount of episodes, but I'm assuming maybe like 25 to 30 for the first arc. Because we do have an end point. I do have an end point and goal, or an end point in mind, and I don't want the show to just go on for like 1 million episodes. I want it to end. I want there to be a story that is concise as possible and fun. So that's my plan right now. But
wasn't our test campaign supposed to be 3 or 4 episodes?
It was supposed to be 4 episodes and it turned into 7. So if we can guesstimate from that, I'm
Close
sure it'll
to
be
double.
more than
For every 4,
like
add 3.
Yeah, so it might be 45. Who friggin' knows? I don't want it to be that many, but we'll see.
Do you guys break it up in like seasons like a lot of shows do?
I think yes. I think we will do that. Yeah. Definitely far off in the future. But yeah, well, that's what we'll try to do.
Then people can jump into not whatever arc they want, but whatever season they want down the line or something like that. And start with the new one, go back to the original,
And that's another thing, is that if people don't want to start off at episode 1, we do want to, in later episodes, do like little tiny recap things, or have an episode where new people can jump in and not feel completely lost. And definitely when arc ends happen and the new ones begin, we want that to be able to happen so that people don't always have to start at the beginning if they don't want to, because we want to make it more accessible to people and not be like, oh, well, you have to have seen all of the episodes to understand anything.
You got to start with
really
X-Men #1.
Yeah,
I mean, you should never get to Wolverine.
I mean, like, you should, but I mean, we don't want it to be that. We don't want to be gatekeepy in that manner.
It makes sense for sure. So, what level did the characters start at, and what level are they now?
I guess I'll let you guys answer. I've been talking a lot.
Started at 3. We're now 4.
I mean, we've
we
only
leveled up. We won.
Yeah,
got one.
We've only recorded 7 episodes, and we've only, in like about 30 minutes, we'll have released 5. So, starting off.
But the level we start at, I think, is always so interesting as someone who runs a lot of games myself. I love starting at level 3 because you get the subclass immediately.
Yeah.
I started out as an Eldritch Knight. I started with a familiar. I didn't have to go through level 2 where I was just hitting things. I got to do some other stuff too.
Boom.
So
I feel like
fun. Level 3, everyone has their unique thing.
Yeah, and I feel like when you start off at 1 or 2, you are so vulnerable, and it's like anything will get you killed. And I definitely, all these characters that we put so much time and work into, I don't want it to be like one-shotted by a guard or something like that.
But if we TPK at 3rd level, it's totally fine.
It's much
probably
better. At
our
least,
own fault.
It's fine.
Yeah, at that point, it's not my fault. It's your guys' fault.
We made
That's
mistakes.
good.
But we have
Miracle we're
we have
alive.
many mechanics built in to avoid that kind of stuff that aren't built into the game, because we have I made this mechanic, I think I talked about it a little bit last time, called Fate Cards, where I made this thing, it's sort of inspired, if anyone listens to the campaign podcast, the Campaign Skyjacks, it's sort of based on their like Luminary card deck, which is pretty much, it's a set of cards that have certain themes, like one card's like the Inquisitor, the Knight, the King, the Dragon, the Sword, something like that, kind of like tarot cards. And you can draw them at like high drama, high danger, high emotion parts in the story to get like a boost or something like that, to kind of Deus Ex Machina change the situation. But when you draw the cards, you draw 3 of them. First is like the themes, second is who it's affecting, and the third is if it's good, bad, or mixed. So it's always a risk to draw the cards, but it's like a risk reward thing. So if you're like, unconscious, you're about to get stabbed by that knoll, and they're about to drop you down and like one shot kill you, you can draw a fate card to try to avoid that, to see if fate intervenes, if the gods intervene and change things.
Though
And
we've gotten a lot of bad pulls.
Only been bad.
All
Only
bad.
been bad.
Only bad.
You have gotten mixed. You've gotten one bad
And they've
card. You
only
all
been
complaining
bad.
too much.
They've only been bad. Only terrible things have happened.
We don't want to make it
They're
seem like
okay.
divine lightning strikes the knoll about to kill us. 90% of the time, there's an earthquake. You all get screwed over. It's a fun time.
I mean, y'all are still alive, and these cards have come in handy. So I'll just say that.
So last time you guys were on, we talked about the characters, and I threw up the character art.
Yes.
I heard from Cesare and Julian about their characters. Maddie, who are you playing?
I play Vincer, who is our half-elf cleric. He's a trickster cleric. He's a friend and a bean. I love him more than I love a lot of things. He's... Oh god, what can I say about Vincer?
I think maybe like his personality or something like that.
He's a vain little bean. He's an artist, clearly, and takes a lot of pride in that. And I like the thing is he's perceptive little bean too. He reads people well. Has to do a lot. He's the talker. He talks a lot. Makes a lot of jokes. Not really. They're just one-off lines that I'm like, does this work? Maybe. He's funny. I think he's funny. What else?
I mean, like, coming into the creation process of those art pieces, we worked with Apollo Avery at Apollinaires, amazing artist, and we worked with them one-on-one. Well, I mean, I was there too because I'm a little lurker, and trying to help people. And we sort of like talked about their characters and their concepts with them, and we had a long sort of like back and forth about like changing things, adjusting things to make these characters how we both viewed them. And it was just like an amazing process to go through.
And when we were creating these characters and talking about what type of tropes we'd like to see one another play before the campaign, I think I mentioned this before, but we really wanted to see Maddie be just as chaotic as she wanted to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a lot.
So she ends up playing this kind of like prissy in the best way person running around, cracking jokes, getting into trouble because he can't stop talking.
Mostly. A lot of
Wait,
what he
are you
does
talking
is
about
just-
Jasper or Vincer?
Oh, well, excuse me,
Somebody
that
should
is my
definitely
gag
tell
buddy.
Jasper that Vincer is the talker of the group, because I'm pretty sure that's what's gotten Jasper into trouble 100% of the time.
I mean, if anything, come to the show for the characters because we got plenty of that.
Listen, I literally every week I probably spend about like 3 to 4 hours doing character prep and just like figuring that. Also, because I'm an actor. Like, mostly.
I mean, that is what I
was that
say
voice?
whenever I'm practicing. I'm like, I'm an actor. I usually do that before we start. That's my prep.
I think that's really great. But just like, cause I've already put so much into this character, and when I get like this trademark, I cannot stop thinking about it and just like finding all of these little nooks and crannies of like, well, what if this thing happens? How would my character respond there? And just it continues on. I literally have like a Google Doc right now that's just like character analysis bullshit, and it's been going for about 2 weeks, and I keep adding to it because I can't stop. So
I mean,
Come see the show.
I'll say that right now is that when I'm a player, that is the thing that helps me the most. Like, in prep time is just like pretending, like practicing being the character outside of the game and thinking of all those things like, well, what would they say in this situation? Or it's like, I'm talking about my backstory. What would I say? And it's like, oh yes, I was born here and I did this and blah, 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 blah. And getting that sort of comfortability to bring it to an improv space really makes it just like so fluid when you're playing, and it makes it possible to do like those amazing things, and then to not think about it as a game and just to think about it as this role-playing experience, like I am playing this character and this is what they would do, and that really helps me, and obviously Maddie as well.
I mean,
when,
that's
they're
like
playing.
part of come watch episode 5. There's a reason, because like I just get so through Vincer's eyes, and the entirety of that episode was just panic. Oh shit.
I was concerned for you for the rest of the day after
Yeah, it was just
episode
like
5. I
this.
was like, is Maddie gonna be okay?
Vincer's
She hasn't
terrible, no good,
moved.
very bad day.
Listen, part of being an actor is you gotta have your decompress too. After that, I'm real good at that. I'm an artist.
Time to load up some Mass Effect, just
Yeah.
lay through that legendary edition.
Hell yeah.
Compress.
So on that note, we're past the time by a little bit.
What?
I've enjoyed enjoyed talking with you all. Final thoughts for each of you before we head on out?
I'm gonna go last.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Final thought, immense gratitude, Dave. Thank you so much.
Yes.
This has been so
Thank
much
you.
fun.
Thank
We love
you.
talking about our creative ventures, and I mean, we talk about it with each other most of the time, and we get fired up. But to be able to speak with not only somebody who has as much experience and authority as you guys, but just like as hopefully as big of a nerd as we feel we are, it's super gratifying. So appreciation, much gratitude, and hope you guys like the show.
See,
Who
Maddie.
wants to
My
go
turn.
next?
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for having us on. I'm glad that the power didn't go out this time.
That makes
And
two of
Still a
us,
few minutes,
maybe
yeah.
5. I don't know.
Listen,
Who knows?
I
We
mean,
still got time.
we were just so electric last time. Oh yeah. We overwhelmed all the circuits. Anyway, that was really bad. I loved it. So come see our show. I'm personally very proud of the work that I've like done, but also the work that we do as like an ensemble, as a team. It's very fun. It gets me going every week. Someday I really hope that we can have live shows because I think that would be really fun.
Oh,
Anyway, okay, thanks,
yeah.
bye.
Thirding the thank yous, and also we are just as excited to see where we go as anyone else is. This is one of those rare mediums where we don't know what's going to happen moment to moment, especially when you have this many chaotic creative individuals in a room together. Adam is building the story track by track despite having like a rough design in mind.
Choo-choo.
And I don't know what things are going to look like in a year or even a month. I feel like looking back on this day a year from now is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. Maybe we'll have character deaths. Maybe we will be playing a completely separate roster of characters. Maybe we will be the exact same. Who knows? And I am just as excited to discover that as I hope our listeners are.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say, definitely, again, just thank you for making a platform to be able to get these sort of startup projects and these unknown people in the community to be able to get them access to a larger audience. And I just think that's really freaking cool. And thank you a lot, Dave, for doing this. We really appreciate it. And if you want to come check out the General Adventuring Company, we got stories, we got characters, we got pizza, we got all the things you need.
Wait, we got pizza?
We don't got pizza. We got a Discord community.
We do that.
It's got a lot of cheese and not that much pepperoni.
No.
But yeah, so come check out this show. Come have a good time, because we definitely want to build the community, build the General Adventuring Company to a bigger size.
At TGAC Pod, P-O-D.
Yes.
Or the General Adventuring Company on YouTube.
Well, as always, the links are in the description, and go grab some of that General Adventuring Company stock.
Some of that pizza.
Thank you all for coming on. I do appreciate it. Until next time, everyone, stay nerdy.
Bye.